Hey everybody, Rob from Karma Comment Chameleon coming at you with a couple of malicious compliance stories. First one, no one can leave until we are all ready? Okay boss, whatever you say. Let's jump right in. KCC merch is now available at the link in the description below. Also hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories. In high school, I worked in the kitchen at a summer camp. We were not paid hourly, we were paid per meal we worked. One summer, they got rid of the chef who'd been working there for decades and hired a new guy, chef, who was a real piece of work. He was in his 60s, burned out in life, and had no love for the camp or the job. The former chef was in her 30s, high energy, and had worked at the camp since she was a kid. Her kitchen was immaculate because she took pride in her work environment and genuinely loved the camp and her job. The camp only hired the new guy because they wanted to branch out into year-round programs and knew she'd be unavailable since she had a long-standing winter job. Soon after chef starts, the kitchen gets dirty real fast. He believes that cleaning the kitchen should be someone else's job. He's simply there to cook. The previous chef was there sun up to sundown, and in between the lunch and dinner shifts, while we all had a few hours as a break, she was taking care of her kitchen, keeping it tidy and organized. Chef starts showing up a few hours before meals, and then as soon as he's done cooking, he is out of there, leaving a staff of underage kids to deal with washing everything, putting stuff away, properly wrapping and labeling leftovers, cleaning up the fridge and pantry storage, etc. None of us have been trained on food safety, and we've never deep cleaned the kitchen because the former chef preferred to do it herself. Camp owner notices the issue and offers to pay us an extra meal for someone to stay late and deep clean the kitchen once a day, so I take most of those shifts. Chef is told, but I don't think he pays much attention until halfway through the season, another coworker asks to split the kitchen cleaning duties with me one evening. I say okay, but she proceeds to do nothing constructive, just seems to be puttering around wasting time. Deep cleaning the kitchen involves 5 distinct parts. So I finished 4 of the 5, and then I tell her that if she wants to get paid, she can do part 5, the only part left, which is both the easiest and fastest part. Otherwise, I'll finish it myself and she can go home now, but she won't get paid. She seems to snap to it and starts part 5, so I leave for the day. I come in the next day for dinner shift and chef starts unexpectedly yelling at me. Turns out he came back about an hour after I left to find my coworker all by herself in the kitchen. I explain I left her to finish up what should have been a 5-minute job. I have no clue why she was still there an hour later, but why is that my issue? I'm not her boss, we're the same age, who cares that I left her alone? I've been doing that job alone for months. Chef won't listen to my logic. He seems to think I was shirking my duties somehow. So to punish me, he makes up a new rule on the spot that from now on, no one leaves the kitchen until everyone is finished. Everyone leaves at the same time. Am I clear? He bellows that last part at me. I'm like, whatever you say, chef. So dinner starts normally. After all the diners have gone through the line for last call, chef starts removing his apron and heads for the door. I ask where he's going. He says home. He's forgotten his new rule. I start to follow him out, and I tell all my coworkers, okay, hit the lights, I guess we gotta leave now since chef is leaving. Keep in mind, dining room is still full of kids, barely any plates have been washed, pots haven't been scrubbed, and no food has been put away. He stops and goes, no, I'm leaving, you guys stay. I said, I thought you made it clear that we were supposed to all leave together from now on, isn't that the new rule? So he's pissed, but he comes back to the kitchen and stands there glaring at me while we continue working. About 45 minutes later, everyone is basically finished with the normal cleanup. Chef's wife and kids are waiting for him in the dining hall. They all lived on camp property. And the kids are getting antsy, so chef tried to leave again. That's when I reminded him about the deep clean that I still have to do. He blows up, starts swearing, calls me a few names. I calmly wait out his tirade, then say, hey man, you made the rule. If you want to admit it was stupid and a mistake, you can leave right now. Well, he decides not to give in, so I proceeded to deep clean the kitchen just as slowly and thoroughly as I can. That kitchen has never been so damn clean. Because he's never deep cleaned the kitchen, he has no idea how long it's supposed to take or how many parts are left. Just as I'm finishing the last part, He throws his hands in the air, says, "You win, forget the rule," and we all go home. Found out later that my coworker I was accused of callously leaving in the kitchen by herself was just trying to avoid going to Bible study by making it seem she had to work late. Her mother was an overbearing, strict religious nut who went to the same church as Chef and his family, and when Chef caught her in the kitchen waiting for her mom to pick her up after Bible study, she lied so that he wouldn't tell her mom that she skipped it. So long story short, Chef made a rule and it came back to bite him in the butt. I'm actually surprised it lasted as long as it did and that he didn't pack it in a lot earlier. On to our next story. Boss is going to keep asking me to work shifts when I take time off? How about I take a permanent vacation? Let's jump right in. This is the story of my former employer. I work in the Northeast US and my employer at the time was a very small company, boss and 5 employees, in a very specific industry where 90% of our work was on construction sites, and finding a well-qualified person in this very specific industry is a very hard thing to do. My boss was the kind of boss that every employee hates. Corners were cut every possible way in order to keep overhead costs down. On top of that, he would constantly overbook on jobs, like signing contracts for 6 projects during the same week, knowing full well that he only has 5 employees, which would result in the employees often working 14-hour days or more, which really sucks when you're on salary, no overtime. His worst attribute by far was approving time off, and then during your time off, calling or texting you asking you if you would be willing to work a day or cut your vacation short. Sometimes he'd even ask you to move your time off to the next week or next month when the workload lightens up. Hint, it never lightened up due to his constant overbooking. After working at this company for 6 years, I got used to all the aforementioned annoyances, but then things changed. My son was born. In the months leading up to his birth, I made it very clear that I would be taking a 5-week unpaid leave of absence once he arrives. The state we're in allows new parents to take up to 8 weeks of unpaid leave. I told my boss that I know 8 weeks would be a huge strain on such a small company, so I was willing to take 5 weeks, but those 5 weeks would be completely off the grid, meaning don't call me, don't text me. If you're going to ask me to do anything work-related, the answer will be no, so don't bother. I'm going to be spending time with my family. He 100% agreed. Fast forward to my son's birth. He was born on a Friday, and after a short stay in the NICU, don't worry, he's fine, was released on Monday and we took him home. Tuesday morning, the next day, I wake up to a missed call, an email, and 3 texts, all from my boss asking me to call him back ASAP. For reasons still unknown to me to this day, I call him back and he tells me there's a slight emergency, code speak for he screwed up the scheduling and has a job with no employee at it, and asks if I could maybe come in to work that day and maybe work a couple more days that week until he finds someone to cover it. I lost it. I literally felt something in my neck snap and unleashed a verbal assault on him that I still feel bad about now, a year later. I ended my rant with an apology. As much of a dick move it was for him to be calling me in that situation, it was still completely unprofessional of me to say what I said to him. Obviously, he wasn't a big fan of what I said, and after a small rant of his own, ended with the sentences that made this whole story possible. He said, "You've got a pretty good gig at this company that most people your age would be thankful for. I'd be impressed if you could find a better job in this field because I've been doing this for 30 years and I know how small this industry is, and trust me, good jobs like yours don't come along very often. Think about that." So we ended the call, and I did what he said. I thought about it. After thinking about it for 30 seconds, I got out of bed, sat down in front of my computer, and started looking at job postings. 5 weeks later, my time off came to an end, and my first day back I came into work, walked into my boss's office, and handed him a piece of paper. "What's this?" "I thought about what you said, about how you'd be really impressed if I could find a better job than the one I have here. So I did." My boss reads over what I handed him, a job offer from a competitor for the exact same job I was performing, but at a 25% higher salary, an extra week of paid vacation compared to what I had, and a stipulation that company policy was that work hours are capped at 8 per day meaning that once I hit 8 hours on a job, I pack up and leave it until tomorrow, no exceptions. Well then, can I have the day to crunch some numbers to come up with a counteroffer? No, don't bother. I just wanted you to see it because I know you wouldn't have believed me otherwise. Gave my 2 weeks notice and left for whatever job site I was on that day. That was a year ago, and I could not be happier with my new job. I get to spend lots of time with my boy, and that's the best job perk there is. For all you bosses and managers out there, don't f*** with your employees, especially the good ones. Treat them how you'd want to be treated. Most employees don't quit their jobs, they quit their bosses. That last sentence couldn't be more true. I've had so many jobs where I love the job itself, but the manager was a complete nutbar. I'm looking at you, Rick. I want to thank both of the OPs for giving me permission to narrate their stories today. You can find links to both of their stories and their profiles in the description below. Please visit them on Reddit and give them the upvotes they deserve. Once again, this is Rob from Karma Comic Chameleon saying thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I ask you to hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and share it with your friends, and we'll see you in the next one.